we're continuing the White House press briefing of this whole idea of banks collapsing, but we also get a question regarding the debt ceiling. Go ahead, roll.
Thanks, Karine. On March 13th, after the SVB collapse, we heard almost verbatim the president say what he said today with regard to calling out Congress to give regulators the tools to hold executives accountable, with regard to regulators strengthening regulations, with regard to making sure this does not happen again. And here we are again. So can you clarify?
Thank you. Somebody calling out the elephant in the room that the president already said all this stuff. We got it handled, folks. It's not going to happen again. And here we are. Just like 2 months later, dealing with the same crap. I mean, you almost name the issue going on. Joe Biden somehow was going to resolve it. And then when it kind of gets buried under the rug in kind of the media because there's so much other ish going on, then when we have another bleep that hits the fan, like another bank failing, then all of a sudden it raises awareness again to Joe Biden's failings. And then they say, oh, well, we got this whole thing, this plan in place that's going to resolve the issue. So this is, the theme that's going on here. But when we went over that in the first segment of their plan, it's not going to resolve anything. It actually doesn't stop banks from failing at all. So you're probably going to see another bank fail in the coming months here. And then we're going to just have a rinse and repeat again. In the same way, every messaging from immigration to foreign policy to domestic policy has been Joe Biden creates a bleep storm. He causes the problem. And then he says he has all these mechanisms and plans to fix it. And then it gets buried under the rug. And then when it comes out in the news again, they just regurgitate the same nonsense. And she's bringing it up here about the regurgitating of the nonsense that's being spewed here that you say you're going to fix it. Here we are again. What's different?
Between March 13th and today, what has changed, if anything? Have any of those tools gotten sharper? And how has he reached out to Congress?
So a couple of things. The First Republic, the Silicon Valley Bank, and the Signature each faced unique, very, very unique vulnerabilities. So just want to put that out there. And since our...
Okay, you could say that about virtually anything, but in the grand scheme of things, no, it really wasn't. It really wasn't that different. They made a run on the banks. They're making terrible lending practices to a specific type of group of people, usually the wealthy, by the way, and other mechanisms in terms of what into them having high interest rates or even offering, in some cases, very, very low interest rates. But again, it's out of the scope of this video, or else we'll be here all day. So there is some truth to what she's saying, but in the grand scheme, in the holistic viewpoint or the holistic picture, bird's eye view of what's taking place here, it's really not that different between all three of the banks in terms of what was going on. Poor mismanagement. You saw it from Silicon Valley Bank, even the way the mismanagement happened, not just with the lending practices, but also just the PR of what they were doing, which basically scared all the customers, which is why they had to run on the bank. Very similar to Credit Suisse, even though Credit Suisse was going down for a long period of time due to mismanagement and their lending practices. And gee, what do you think I'm going to say about the First Republic Bank? Oh, same thing. The lending practices that have been going on quite some time. They had a run on the bank, poor mismanagement, and so you're having the same thing happening here. Now you see the holistic view that's similar to all three banks, but she's going to say it's all unique, you guys. Just unique.
Our administration has taken decisive and, again, forceful actions. We have seen deposit flow stabilize at regional banks. So that is important because of those tools that I just laid out and because we took actions very quickly. And we've seen stronger than expected earnings at many banks, including regional banks. So the actions, again, that we've taken has helped. These were unique situations, the three banks that you all have been following clearly and that I just mentioned. And again, we're going to continue to monitor this situation. This is something that FDIC, this is a process that they have taken, that they have monitored, and we just want to make sure that the depositors are not the ones who have to pay the bill, or taxpayers, right? And so we're going to continue to do the work that we've been doing these past several weeks.
For mid and large size banks, has anything changed with regard to the power of the tools?
I just laid out, we think the tools are indeed working. The three banks have had unique vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah. It's so amazing. It is so amazing this lady could just sit here and lie like that. Yeah, the tools are working. If they were working, this wouldn't have happened. That's the thing, is just be honest. Like, on Joe Biden can't do anything here. I mean, literally, you can't do anything because this isn't working. But I also mean, he's the president of the United States. There's not much he can do here. That's up to the banks to make wise decisions. And you know what? You shouldn't have banks making bad decisions able to be successful by bailing them out. You have to let them fail. I understand there's consequences to that. I understand that's easy for me to say because my money's not within those banks. I use credit unions, not-for-profit unions. It's what I call them. Where you look at these other ones that are failing, they're pretty much for-profit banks. They just look at you as another dollar sign. And when you have the government constantly bailing them out, like we saw under the Obama administration, God, who was vice president when that happened? Oh, it was Joe Biden. Now we're doing the same thing over again with Joe Biden at the helm. It's just amazing how she's going to sit here and spew all this nonsense. Yeah, no, the tools are working, Karine, sure.
And just laid those out. We've seen deposit flow stabilize at regional banks, but we also seen stronger than expected earnings at many banks that include the regional banks. So we see that the process that has been put in place, the tools that have been put in place, has actually been working. This is not 2008. This is a very, very different time than 2008.
Yes and no. And if you actually look at the banks that did fail, in terms of the assets and just the valuation of it, it's actually very similar to 2008. You just had more banks fail in 2008 than you did now in the end of 2022, 2023 here at the beginning. So there is some truth to what she says, but it's a spin right there. It is a big spin because you haven't had a mass bailout on a governmental level per se, like you did in 2008, where you had 22 to 25 banks or something like that. I'm really reaching back in my memory, folks. It's 2023. I haven't talked about this since I was in college. So there is a comparison there to be made. You're just not seeing the effects of it. And some people are saying the effects just haven't been felt yet, that it's really being masked by a slower rate of government bailout in terms of you're not having a lot of banks necessarily fail all at once like you kind of did in 2008, whereas they're kind of slowly like a domino effect, just kind of falling one after another. And so because that is happening and they're slowly rolling out the FDIC insurance of $250,000 to depositors, or like you saw in Silicon Valley Bank, where it doesn't matter if it's $250,000 or more, you're all getting bailed out by the government and they're going to tell you it's all FDIC insured. It's a lie. The taxpayer are bailing them out in some way, shape, or form. That's the only way to get that money. But again, there is a comparison to be made here, but also at the same time, there is a differential in terms of now than 2008, obviously.
One more on the debt ceiling, because McCarthy and Israel, Speaker McCarthy, I should say, reiterated yet again that we will not pass a debt ceiling that just raises it without doing something about our debt, talking about the need for negotiation. I know your position that that this is the Republicans' burden, right, to raise the debt ceiling. But it's the
I just want to pause it for those that aren't familiar with what she's referring to. Karine Jean-Pierre keeps saying it's the Republicans this, it's Republicans' fault. They should just do it. They should just raise the debt ceiling. They should just be idiots and do it. I would say, and I will say, you guys, if the debt ceiling isn't raised probably by June-ish, we are going to default on our payments, and there is a possibility of our credit rating lowering. How do I phrase this without making hysteria over it? It would make 2008 look like a little like a playground. Like 2008 was a joke compared to what could possibly happen here if we don't raise the debt ceiling. So some bleep could hit the fan here. They're going to raise it. I think both sides are bluffing. But the fact that Joe Biden's not willing to meet says a lot. And, maybe he's not willing to meet because we all saw his schedule from the White House aides saying that dude can't do anything after a certain point in time. Like in the evenings, he can't do anything. On the weekends, he can't do anything. Early in the morning, he can't do anything. This guy's very limited to when he can actually show face because he's sleeping all the time, or he gets fuzzy-minded. He gets fuzzy-minded is what they're saying.
President's economy. So is he not going to have a meeting with McCarthy until McCarthy gives in? Do you think McCarthy's bluffing here?
The president is prepared to talk about budget and appropriations process. That's what we have said. We are not a deadbeat nation. The president said that. You heard directly from him moments ago. And the president said he's happy to meet with McCarthy, but not on whether or not the debt limit gets extended. That's not negotiable. We are continue to be very firm about that, to be very clear. The president, again, said this himself. Look, what they are proposing would hurt every American and cost 6 million jobs and threaten Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid payments. That's what they're threatening. That's what the American economy that they're saying
Still
that they're
spewing
going
these
to
lies,
hold
by the way,
hostage.
folks.
And again, Congress must act. It is their constitutional duty. We've been very clear on what we will negotiate about, which is appropriations and the budget. But we just are going to be very clear. They must act and do their constitutional duty on this.
So what's interesting here is, again, she's still going to peddle. They're going to go after the social programs. They're going to cut this. You're all going to lose your jobs. I mean, look, like, there is some truth to the fact that this could be a massive bleep storm. Again, I'm not allowed to cuss on YouTube anymore, but a huge issue if they don't raise the debt ceiling. The bigger thing is we need to get our spending under control here. And if you haven't seen those prior episodes of the Bald Brad Show, just YouTube Bald Brad economy or Bald Brad talk about the deficit or whatever it is. We spend like 70% of our budget on social programs. It's insane. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep spending like we're idiots. But when you got idiots being elected into office by other idiots, that's what you get, idiotic behavior. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.